Hey guys, hey everyone. I have just shared my screen. Let me just go to the code very quickly. Okay, is the code screen also visible to you guys? Folks, every code is visible and the browser should also be. Zoom is acting very funny for the last couple of days. Okay. Now I am guessing everything is available, right? Can you share me yesterday PDF? It was a link, it was not a PDF. It's at this website. Here. Cool. So yesterday, what we have done, a quick revision of that before moving to anything else, right? Guys, yesterday we were talking about a few things. The most important one that we discussed is how to send data to JavaScript, send data to the HTML, right, from JavaScript. So we talked about 4 mechanisms to do it, right? First one was called inner text. Second was called document.write. Third was window.alert, and finally console.log, right? Does everyone remember the differences between them? Okay, before I start that, how many people have read the first chapter of the book? Just say yes if you have. Saurabh, you have? Who else? Gaurav, Vinay, Saurabh, Chinmoy, 5, 6, 7. Don't say not yet, say yes or don't say anything. Okay. So we are seeing 10 people, huh? 10, 11 people, I guess. Not completed is not relevant. It's a yes or no question. Okay. Okay. Let's see how for how long you guys keep it up. But good, yeah. Good number of people have done it. Cool. Glad to know that. So far, so good. Okay. So what I was telling you is we talked about these 4 methods. Document.write, never to be used for us. What it does is very simply, it will just remove everything, right, that is present on the page, and then just write this text on the HTML page, right? So it will forget about anything, any HTML, any div, anything, right? Basically, which you've done, it will just be replaced by this. Okay. Second one is, of course, you have to select an element first. Here I have selected an element by its class name, dot inner text, and yeah, loading from external side. Good. Next one was windows.alert. You all tried this out also. What this does is it creates a alert, right? Alert or a status box on top of the page, right? Finally, we talked about the most popular one, which is called console.log. It does not, it basically writes data to the console, okay? So if I do this, everything just broke because everything was based on the fact that there is an element here, right? And that element did not exist. So yeah, you know the rest of the story. Cool. Then one more thing which we covered were variables. We realized that there are, of course, data types in JavaScript, correct? So what are these data types? Basically, basically JavaScript has, it can be a number, it can be a string, it can be many other things, but for now only let's restrict to number and strings. Okay. So yeah, we talked about them, how we can store them in variable. So we talked about one type of variable container, which is called let. So using let, we were declaring variables, something like let a is equal to 5, let b is equal to 6, right? Let c is equal to a plus b. Right? JavaScript is case insensitive, but of course it's it's case sensitive, but it's space insensitive. Okay, so this does not matter. This does not matter, right? But this matters. Okay. Cool, guys. Everyone with me so far? Cool. A bit of zooming will help us. Let's zoom it. Fine. Yes, it is case sensitive. Right. So next step, guys. Where I mean, let's just keep moving forward and let's just try to understand the various things. Okay. So we've learned about all these things which can. We also learned about window.print, by the way, which is used for calling the printer function. We read what statements are. Statements are lines of JavaScript code which usually are terminated in semicolon. Okay. So all that is good. We learned that white spaces do not matter, right? Okay. So the first thing that I want to talk to you about, and this will take some of our time today, is the JavaScript syntax. Okay. Why today is not giving an what is not giving undefined error, Amit? What is not giving error? It was not an error, Amit. Console.log does not have a return type. So when something does not have a return type, it gives you undefined. It's not giving you error here because you have not executed that code until now, right? That code was earlier getting executed on the browser. So now if you were to run this code on the browser, it will give you 11, right? But if you say console.log something on the browser, let's say 12, right? So it will log 12, but it will also tell you the return type. The return type is undefined. Clear? Not an error. Okay. So guys, moving forward and building on top of this, we will now talk about the JavaScript syntax. Okay. So I'll create a function which is called do something. And as you can guess, it does something. Okay. The first thing that I want to talk to you about is in the JavaScript program, there are a set of rules, right? So it's not that you can write whatever you want to. Okay. So essentially, we talked about a few things, right? The first thing that I want to talk about is declaration of variable. Chat will now be stopped because you are asking unnecessary questions, even without me teaching anything. So first thing, right, is how to create variables. Okay. So guys, I showed you one mechanism wherein we were saying let A, let B, right? These were ways of creating variables in JavaScript, right? Later on, of course, you could have gone ahead and said A is equal to 5, B is equal to 6, just as an example, right? Now, this is called variable declaration because here you're declaring the variable. Declaring basically tells the JavaScript engine that, hey, reserve a container which can be referenced by the name A, right? What you want to put in that happens on this line. When you say A is equal to something, basically the right hand side value gets copied to the left hand side inside the left hand side variable container, right? So guys, in every language, there is a concept of two things. One is literals, the other is called variables. Okay. So what are literals? Literals are some things which have a fixed value. So I'll give you an example of literals. So this is JavaScript only running. So 10 is a literal, right? Because it has a fixed value. 11 point, if I write 11.5, this is also a literal, 5, 6, whatever, right? This is also a literal, right? But what are variables? Variables are things which may or may not have a fixed value, right? Because you can change the values of it, right? Think of it this way, that once you've written 10 or 11.556, this value cannot change, right? But let's say if I had done A is equal to 5 here and I do A is equal to 10 here, right? So we can change the value of A. right? So just like mathematics, there are variables and variables have values. JavaScript has the concept of literals, and it has the concept of variables. Okay. So having said that, another important thing is it's not necessary that every literal is of the type, this one is of the type number. You can have strings also, right? So here I can say string, right? Right? Strings are basically characters, right? So this whole thing is a string. So this is a string literal, okay? And of course you can put it inside B as well. I will just, okay. So strings are text, which are of course in this quotes, because if you write it just like that, JavaScript will start treating them as reserved keywords, and then it will be a problem. Okay. Okay. So as with any language, guys, variables are used to store data values, and this thing, right, which I have done here, it's called variable declaration. Okay, and this is an assignment, right? Assigning a value to a variable means assignment, right? So in JavaScript, there are three ways you can declare variables. Okay. So the first thing that I showed you is let, right? There are two other ways. There is something called as var, which actually stands for variable. It was used in the older versions of JavaScript, but now we don't use it anymore. So you can say var c is equal to 7, or you can just declare it here, and here say c is equal to 7. Right? So there is var, there is let me just clean this a bit. There is let, there is var, and then there's the final one, which is called const, right? The speciality about const variables is that they can only be declared once. So you can't change their value if they're declared once, right? So let's say I have const d is here, right? So since it cannot be changed, its value can only be given at the time of declaration. So here you will have to say const d is equal to, let's say 70, right? And if you try to say d is equal to 80, JavaScript will not accept this. It will throw an error, right? What is the subtle difference between these three? That I'll tell you later. But for now, just understand that const is a constant variable. Let and var, to them you can give values whenever you want, and you can change values whenever you want, right? I'll just open chat now. Guys, is this clear to everyone? Right? So we talked about variables, we talked about literals, and then we saw one special type of variable declarator, right? I just told you that I will be talking about the differences between let, var, and these things later. Let is a mechanism to develop mechanism to declare a variable, right? Variables are intrinsically containers. So what that means is containers or variables are something which store value. No, you can't do that. Once a const is declared, if you try to make change its value, it will throw you an error. So Ankit has a very valid question. Let's just try this out. So I'll go to the console. I'll do this. Okay, const d, right, and then I'll say d is equal to 7. Right, does not work, right? Because you cannot have constant variables and not declare the and not initialize them, right? So they have to be initialized at the time of declaration. So only this is valid. क्या questions है यार? So A6 error show होगा क्या? नहीं होगा ना, because A is a let variable. You can just change it. Can we use a string for text? What are you talking, Adam? A string is a text, right? JS is interpreted language, so the function declaration is not mandatory to execute. Yes, that is correct. But for var, we can do it both ways. Yes, that is also correct. Can console be used instead of sum? that makes no sense. Declaration means at the start. This is a declaration where you're declaring a variable. So it is telling the JavaScript language that, hey, this variable is now declared and will be used somewhere. Okay. Initialization is, I will not tell you right now. We'll come to what is the difference between them later. I had mentioned that earlier also. Okay. I don't think there's any valid question. Chat is now closed. Okay. So we know what JavaScript variables are, right? Similarly, guys, there is a concept of JavaScript operators also, right? So what are operators? Operators are basically things that that perform an operation, right? So I'll give you an example, right? So this is, let's say you had written this, and let's say you wanted to find the product of C and A, right? So I'm going to create another variable, let product is equal to C star A. I didn't remove this. Huh? So guys, once you're doing that, this basically is telling the compiler that, hey, whatever is the multiplication of C star A, you just store it in the product variable. Got it? So there are these types of operators, right? For example, star, you could have also put, let me just give you some examples. Let's call sum, ms plus, reference, is C minus A, right? And what do I call division? Product sum difference multiplier. Is C by A, right? Okay. And then of course I'll just log these things so that we can see the result. Okay. So product, you can just put comma and log as many things as you like. Multiplier. Okay. And of course, since this is a function, this needs to be called somewhere. The click me function was getting called by the click of the button, because in the button we had said on click to click me. But do something, I will just call here. So right now, don't worry. अभी की function call कैसे होता है वो सब आप छोड़ दो. Just इतना जान लो, this is a function and this is how you call the function. Okay. So let's go to the browser. And once I reload, it should give you the results, right? And it's giving you the results. So it's giving you 35, which is the multiplication. It's giving you the sum, which is 12, difference, which is this, and multiplier, which is this. Okay. So basically these things, right, which are working on two operands, right? So C or A variables hai, and what are they working as? Operands, right? Maths mein kya hota hai? There are operators, right? So plus is an operator, minus is an operator, divide is an operator, or bahut sare operators hote hai, right? So these here are called, what are they called? They are called arithmetic operators, right? Because आप इससे इनके साथ number के साथ कुछ कर रहे हैं, ठीक है? Just like that, guys. जैसे ये arithmetic operators हो गए. So let me call them arithmetic operators. Right? ऐसे ही हमारे पास जो equal to है, the equal to is basically called assignment operator, right? Because ये क्या करता है? This assigns a value. So I'll just write it here. Equal to, equal sign, which is this, is called assignment operator. Okay. Got it? Let me open the chart again. सबको समझ में आ गया? I've just told you about equality operator, sorry, assignment operator, and I've told you about arithmetic operators. इससे ज़्यादा मैंने कुछ नहीं बताया. If you have a relevant question, please ask. That's not a relevant question, Rahul. last two lines. Yeah, guys, I have kept my camera off. I'm slightly feeling unwell, so I don't want you to see a sick me. That's why I've just kept my camera off. Yeah, I've just developed a cold. Okay, anyway. It is finding the multiplier in the sense. So let's say 12 divided by 2. So 6 is the multiplier, right? So that's why I'm calling it the multiplier. You can call it whatever you want. Okay. Factor is also another valid word. Shall we move forward? Savik, let me bring those things now. It's a division operator, whatever you want to call it. It's a divide symbol, right? At the end of the day, I'm storing it here. मैं नाम तो कुछ भी रख सकता हूँ ना यहाँ पे, right? I can name it Tarun also. console.log का काम है जो भी वैल्यूज आप उसको पास करेंगे, राइट, इट विल जस्ट लॉग दोज वैल्यूज. ओके, सो मैंने कॉमा लगा लगा के कर दिया, तो इसका मतलब इट विल लॉग ऑल ऑफ दोज वैल्यूज. दैट्स द ओनली थिंग जो console.log करता है. Let b is equal to 1, b is equal to b plus 1. Why are you declaring it for the other time, right? So if you want to do what you're doing, other, say let b is equal to 1, b is equal to b plus 1. ऐसा करो ना, आप दोबारा let क्यों कर रहे हो? लॉग का मतलब होता है कंसोल के ऊपर कुछ लिख देना. I think there are no relevant questions here. If you want to know, Rahul, just be patient for next 10 days. I think I'll pause the chat. Why? See, guys, why are you digressing? Matlab, see, all of you have probably read some type of coding in your college or wherever, right? And you're just trying to bring them up here. It's not going to do you any good, right? Let me teach you from scratch. Chat is now paused. Okay. So arithmetic operator, operators we talked about, equal or assignment operator we talked about, right? Then comes the time about talking. Now we talk about expressions, right? Right. What are expressions? Expression is basically a combination of couple of things, right? जब आप variables को, operators को, या फिर literals को किसी तरीके से arrange करने का कोशिश करते हैं, it becomes an expression, right? So I'll just give you an example of an expression. An expression can look like 5 star, मतलब 5 में multiply करो, let's say b, okay, plus let's say whatever the value of sum was, right, minus product, right? So this is basically an expression. अब इस expression का पूरा value I can store in a variable. So let me call that variable as expression val. And it's basically this. Now, just to see इसके अंदर actually में आया क्या, I can console.log it. And I'll just comment this. When I reload, I get the value minus 13, right? Let's just see if that is correct. So B का value था 2. So 5 star 2 was 12. Okay, I'll just do my rough work here. 12 plus sum का value was C plus A, which was 12 again, right? Minus product, product का C star A, which was 35, right? So 12 plus 12 is 24, minus 35 is minus 13, and that's the value you got. Okay. So this is how this thing that you have written on the right side is called a JavaScript expression or expression. Okay. So we know expressions are what are expressions, correct? So guys, it's not that expressions are limited to number wali values. They can also be used to, you can also play with strings with them. Okay. तो उसके वो कैसे करते हैं? Let's just understand that also. Let's say first, let's say I'm creating a string which is called first name. इसमें मैं अपना नाम डालता हूँ, right? और इसमें I'll just put Parakshit, right? For example. Then let's say second name, right? Second name may I can just put another name, right? So whatever, some value that I'm putting, right? Now an expression could also be first name plus second name, right? ये भी JavaScript में valid है. It's not an invalid thing to say. But how JavaScript is going to process this is not the same as this guy, right? Because आप दो strings को add थोड़ी ना कर सकते हो as numbers, right? Right. So what happens? Let's just see what happens. I will store it in a variable called result string, right? And I'll just console.log the value of result string. Okay. When I reload, so what it has done is it has just joined the two strings, right? Or joined, or you can say concatenate. So when two strings are joined, it's called concatenation. Okay. So this is a string concatenation. Okay. Right. A better way to do this is इसमें एक और चीज ऐड कर देते हैं. I'll just put a space in between, right? So what I have done here, guys, मैंने एक और string डाल दी यहाँ पे जो कुछ भी नहीं है, जो एक blank space है. तो अभी इसको देखो, it's looking like this. I reload, it just puts a space in the middle of it. That's it, right? Chat is now open. Everyone understood? Are there any questions? Ask the specific question, Shubham. What did you not understand? क्या नहीं समझ आया? Which part? Okay. No, Shubham, again, you're not making any sense. What did you not understand? Console, I have not written console anywhere. I'm just doing console.log. What did you not understand? Ask me the specific question. You can say ये पूरा नहीं समझ में आया. That's a valid thing to say. Sure. What did I tell here is very simple, right? I said there is the concept of expressions in JavaScript. Expression क्या होता है? Whenever you combine variables, literals, and operators, you get what is called as an expression, right? So what I have done here is I have created an expression here, right? So what is this expression? In this expression, I've done 5 B, right? Plus sum minus product. Okay. So what is 5 P? 5 B. B was 2. 5 into 2 is 10, right? Plus the sum, which was 12, minus the product, which was 35, right? How do we do BODMAS? Minus 35 plus 12 is minus 23. BODMAS, right? Subtraction comes first. Okay. Then you do 10 plus 12. I mean, just do it either way. You are going to get minus 13 is the point that I'm trying to make, right? But okay, that's irrelevant. The point here is expression इस तरीके से बनाया जाता है, right? Then what I have done is I have logged the value of that expression यहाँ पे, right? Log का क्या मतलब होता है? I'm telling this for the last time. you keep asking this thing. Whenever I say console.log something, in the browser console, its value is going to come. That's all console.log is, okay? Now, what I have done here is let first name is equal to Parikshit, second name is some random value. I put a plus sign between them pehle, right? Pehle I had done this, okay? And what is the result that I was getting? It is basically just joining these two strings. But I realized that I can do it better. So what I did is, मैंने उसके बीच में एक तीसरा string डाल दिया, which is nothing but a blank space. Okay, or I could have put a dash also here. Anything, right? I went to this page, I reloaded the page, and it loaded the string with the dash. Shubham, अब ठीक है? You can write whatever RV. Okay. So at places, I use double quotes. At places, I use single quotes. Very valid question. The thing is, in JavaScript, both of these things are okay, right? So you can either say this is also okay, and this is also string, right? So even if you do this, the result will not change, okay? There is a third type of string also, which is backticks, but okay. So to answer your question, Amit, it does not matter. So I'm just in the habit of writing particular things with particular this thing. So it's my muscle memory, which is just acting up, right? So I don't even realize what I'm putting, but in different places, I will be putting different things in different contexts. So don't worry about it. It's the same thing. Okay? For you, it has there is no change. Okay. Pranjal is saying क्या सर जैसे आप इसे कंसोल पर अभी के लिए आप कंसोल पे ही रन करेंगे ब्राउजर कंसोल पे कमांड प्रॉम्प्ट पे यूज करने के लिए there's a different thing which we will learn later. It's called node. ठीक है? Because अभी के लिए for you guys the only place जहां पे जावास्क्रिप्ट चलती है is the browser. सौरभ, प्रांजल, सही है? जावास्क्रिप्ट सिर्फ कहां पे चलती है अभी के लिए? ब्राउजर पे चलती है भाई, और कहीं नहीं चलती. तो ब्राउजर पे ही चलाएंगे, है ना? ओके. कूल. प्लस आउटपुट के लिए है. प्लस आउटपुट के लिए नहीं है. प्लस इज टू जॉइन these two strings. console.log ही आउटपुट देता है. There is nothing else in JavaScript जो कंसोल पे आउटपुट दे सकता है. I think we're good. I'm moving forward. Okay. So we talked about these lot of things, right? So हमने बात किया अभी in JavaScript fixed keywords की, जैसे let है, जैसे var है, right? And एक और कॉन्सेप्ट होता है guys, identifiers का, right? Identifiers क्या होते हैं? Identifier भी नाम होते हैं, right? Identifiers किस काम आते हैं? In JavaScript, the identifiers, they are used to name variables, right? So कुछ चीजें होती हैं जो आप वेरिएबल के नाम लिख सकते हैं, कुछ चीजें होती हैं जो आप वेरिएबल के नाम नहीं लिख सकते थे. So some special characters, for example, percentage cannot be used as a variable name. It's giving me error यहाँ पे, right? At the rate को आप नहीं यूज कर सकते. Underscore को आप बिल्कुल यूज कर सकते हैं, right? So underscore is one of them. Cool. Dollar is another example. ये दोनों statements valid है, right? But any other special character you cannot use. So basically you can add any word here, which is of course not a reserved keyword, or any of these things, right? So I can even say first variable. This is completely fine. Understood? These are called identifiers, right? And of course, variable names can have can have numbers in them also, but पहला character number नहीं हो सकता. So I can say here, for example, underscore var 1. This is completely fine. But आप ये नहीं लिख सकते कि let 1x is equal to 8. This is wrong. Okay, it can be x1. It cannot be, the first one cannot be a character. JavaScript case sensitive hai. We've talked about this, right? Okay, I think that's pretty much it, right? अगली चीज जो मैं बात करना चाहता हूँ, it's about comments only. तो अभी हमने देखा है guys, there are certain comments which we put like this, right? So this is a comment, right? But the problem that I face with this comment is हर एक line पे मुझे ऐसे लिखना पड़ता है. So this is, जैसे मैं लिखना चाहता हूँ, line 1. I have to put, this is line 2, this is line 3, right? This way I'll have to go. But let's say I wanted to have a multi-line comment, right? How to do that? You start a multi-line comment, right? With something which looks like this. So you put a star in front of it, and then you end the multi-line comment here. Right? So this is a multi-line comment. So anything between this code, between these two, becomes a comment, and it will of course not run. ठीक है? तो आप किसी को भी इसमें डाल सकते हैं. In fact, ये पूरा function है. I can just do this, and at the end of this, so everything is now commented, right? And that's why it's appearing like green to you. Okay. So of course I don't want that, so I will remove this. Okay. So single line comments समझ लिया, multiple line comments समझ लिया, right? Yeah, that's one thing. Okay, so now I just want to touch base upon the first concept, which is about these variables that we talked about. तो हमने बात की थी guys variables के बारे में, right? मैंने आपको बताया था कि let is one type, var is one type, const is yet another type, right? Right? Variables again containers की तरह होते हैं, and you can do whatever with them you want. आप उनको ऑपरेटर्स के साथ कंबाइन कर सकते हैं, कुछ भी कर सकते हैं, राइट? हमने ये भी देख लिया कि how you are declaring variables, how you are giving values to them, right? Now there are some nuances to this, right? Nuances मतलब कुछ specific rules है जो हमें variable create करते वक्त देखने होते हैं, right? So I'll just talk a bit about them, right? So कुछ definition सबसे पहले. So in JavaScript, whenever you are creating a variable, right? Creating a variable का क्या मतलब है? When you are creating a container, right? So I'll just move this here and call it function, and I'll remove this function का call. Let me call it variables. Okay. So okay, the point is when you are creating a variable in JavaScript, right? It's called declaring a variable, right? तो वो हम कैसे कर सकते हैं? Let's say I can say var name. ठीक है? So this is what this is doing. This is declaring. Declare का क्या मतलब होता है? बता देना. तो मैंने JavaScript engine को बता दिया कि भाई name नाम का एक variable है, right? Right? जब आप variable को declare करते हैं, अगर आप उस टाइम उसका value निकालने का कोशिश करेंगे, for JavaScript that variable का value is undefined. So if I say console.log name, this will return undefined. करके भी देख सकते हैं. All variables here reload and it says undefined, right? ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है? Because name के अंदर कुछ है ही नहीं. Whatever is not is called undefined, right? Let's say in this line I give it a value. मैंने बोला name is equal to, let's say Gaurav, for example, right? Now when I reload this, of course it will print Gaurav, right? So what I have done here is I've used the assignment operator. Assignment operator ने क्या किया? ये जो value right side में थी, इसको इस कंटेनर के अंदर डाल दिया. और जब आपने पूछा कि जब आपने इस कंटेनर को देखने की कोशिश की, कंटेनर यानी कि वेरिएबल, आपको दिख गया गौरव, right? So this is called declaring. This is called assigning. राइट? यहाँ पे हमने डिक्लेयर किया, यहाँ पे हमने वैल्यू असाइन की, असाइनमेंट. ओके, एंड वन मोर थिंग विच यू ऑलरेडी नो अबाउट, आई थिंक, आप डिक्लेरेशन के टाइम पे असाइनमेंट भी कर सकते हैं. सो वी कुड हैव डन दिस इन वन लाइन, राइट? सो व्हाट आई एम डूइंग इज, इसको कमेंट कर देते हैं एक बार, एंड हियर आई एम गोइंग टू से दैट नेम इज इक्वल टू गौरव. Guys, what happened here? Assign declaration के साथ साथ assignment भी हो गया, right? Result is still the same. Okay. Anyway, so cool. Let's move forward. Okay. So we've talked about statements, है ना? Statements क्या होता है? जो भी चीज, जो भी एक line होती है JavaScript में, one whole line is a statement. Statements typically end with a semicolon, है ना? Now let's say मैं बहुत सारे वेरिएबल्स डिक्लेयर करना चाहता था एक साथ. So how do I do that? It's so basically what I'm trying to tell you is, in one statement you can declare many variables. Okay, so let's just understand how to do that. So let's say I had a use case where I had something called as name, something called as second name, and something called as class, right? Essentially looking like this, right? So let's say var name, let's call it first name, right? Then there is first name, there is second name, second name ही रख देते हैं, right? So essentially in this way, and let's say there could be another thing, there could be something called as class is equal to 10. Oh, class is a reserved keyword, so I'll say underscore class. Okay, underscore class is 10, right? So what you have done is, in one statement only, comma 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 लगा के आपने तीन वेरिएबल्स को एक साथ डिक्लेयर भी कर दिया और असाइन भी कर दिया, राइट? डज इट वर्क? कंसोल डॉट लॉग करके देख लेते हैं. फर्स्ट नेम, सेकंड नेम एंड क्लास. Reload, and it's saying second name is not defined, right? Because I have did wrong spelling. So first name, second name, and 10. We ठीक कर देते हैं, right? So this was one statement with multiple variable declaration, right? And since JavaScript is case insensitive, sorry, space insensitive, you would have just moved these to the next line also, right? So if I do this, this is not a problem. Okay, comma लगा के next line में भी डाल सकते हो. It still does the same thing, right? Okay. Okay. Now let's talk about the undefined value जो हमने बहुत बार की है, right? So guys, ऐसा बहुत बार होगा आपके साथ that you are declaring variables and आप उसमें value बाद में डाल रहे हो, right? So for the computer, when it's what does a computer have to do when you have assigned when you have created a variable? कंप्यूटर को अपनी मेमोरी में एक स्पेस रखना पड़ता है जिसके अंदर कोई वैल्यू आके डलेगी, नहीं? That's what a variable is. Okay, so computer reserves that space specially for that variable name. So let's say I say var my special variable, my special var, and I don't do anything, right? So by this line, the computer will have created some space in the memory for this guy. Okay. But of course, in that memory right now, there is not anything. There is nothing, right? So basically, it means that this guy right now creates the value undefined. जिसमें कुछ भी नहीं होता, उसमें undefined होता है. Simply saying like that, right? Okay. One other concept, right? Let's say मैंने var my special variable में बोला special, right? And then what I'm doing, guys, is I am declaring this variable again like this, right? Let's see what happens. The value is still special. Okay, आपने दोबारा declare भी कर दिया, ठीक है, बट आपकी उसकी वैल्यू चेंज नहीं हुई, राइट? एंड दिस इज इन फैक्ट वन ऑफ द प्रॉब्लम्स आल्सो विद द var कीवर्ड, राइट? इसलिए पुरानी जावास्क्रिप्ट में इसको यूज करते थे, नई जावास्क्रिप्ट में इसको यूज नहीं करते। इसका रीजन क्या है गाइस? जब आपके पास बहुत बड़ा कोड होता है, राइट, एंड आपसे गलती से एक ही वेरिएबल दो जगह पे यूज हो जाता है जिसका नेम सेम है, राइट? सो जावास्क्रिप्ट विल ऑनर दिस वैल्यू, राइट? सेकंड डिक्लेरेशन में वो ये नहीं मानेगी। सो व्हाट यू विल बी एक्सपेक्टिंग, लेट्स से these two things were separated by so many lines of code, right? So you will expect कि भाई ये लाइन तो undefined print करना चाहिए, right? But what it is actually going to print, it's going to print special, okay? Because that was earlier set to this variable, right? So this is in fact one of the key problems with using the var keyword. Let's see what happens अगर हम इसको let डाल देते हैं तो. So I'll just make this let. I'll make this let again, right? Go here, reload the page, and it gives you an error, right? ये error दे रहा है that hey, let variable was already declared, right? Because let ensures कि एक ही variable दो बार declare नहीं हो सकता, right? So in that sense, let is a safer way of writing code as compared to var, right? Okay. Now I'm going to pause and chat is open now. आरवी कल की क्लास सुन लेना पहले. If you've not listened to yesterday's class, this was the first thing that I had talked about. Is there a question? Anyone? कुछ इसमें से समझ नहीं आया जो भी हमने बातें की हैं वेरिएबल्स के अंदर? ओके, डोंट राइट क्लियर. नहीं समझ आया तो बोलो ना, बाकी लोगों का चैट ऊपर चला जाता है. गाइस, जिसको नहीं समझ आया प्लीज जस्ट आस्क योर क्वेश्चन नाउ. आई एम पॉज्ड. What if we interchange the line 58 and 59? That's a good question. See, this is a good question. देखो क्या होगा. See, if you're using let, तो कोई प्रॉब्लम ही नहीं है. Then it will give you an error, right? Let's say आप var use कर रहे थे. Now this happens. The value, what is the value being shown here? Let me just show you. Reload. The value is special. Why is the value special? Because यहाँ पे तो undefined था ना, right? It was undefined here. Here you gave it a value, right? And that value is what it is showing you, very simply, right? Yes, variable name is not a container. मैं आपको एक concept समझा रहा हूँ मयंक, क्योंकि आप variable के अंदर कुछ भी डाल सकते हो, तो मैं उसे इंग्लिश में कंटेनर बोल रहा हूँ भाई. Console.log has nothing to do with execution of code. Console.log is used to write something on this place. अगर हम यहाँ पे लिखेंगे नहीं तो हमें दिखेगा कैसे कि उसके अंदर है क्या. Assigning string, we have to give quotation, but at the time of assigning constant number. हमने इतनी सारी जगहों पे ये किया अजय. अगर मैं यहाँ पे भी string डाल दूंगा, so basically this is still a 6, right? But it's the string 6. It will be treated as a string. It will be treated as text and not the number, right? तो अगर आपके पास b और ये दोनों ऐसे होंगे, तो अगर आप c is equal to a plus b बोलोगे, वो आपको string दिखा देगा 56. It will not add them as numbers. Is there any other function to print the statements except console.log? There are other things also for console, but console पे डालने के लिए तो console.log use करना पड़ेगा. We'll come to that later. Guys, और कोई question है related to this? Cool. Chat is now locked. Okay. मैंने आपको डॉलर साइन के बारे में बताया था, राइट? सो dollar sign or underscore sign are two things which you can use in your variables. JavaScript basically allow करता है. Anything apart from that will not be allowed. Right? Right? Because JavaScript is only allowing two special characters, right? For variable naming, which is underscore and which is dollar. Okay? So I don't think there's a need to repeat that again. Fine. So we know this concept, right? Now, guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move to the next concept, right? A lot of you have asked me what is the difference between, let's say, let and var. Okay? So let's try to understand this let keyword. This let keyword hota kya hai? Right? Right? So in JavaScript, in the older JavaScript, there was nothing like the let keyword. Okay? There was nothing like const also. Variable declare karne ka, there was only one way, which was var, var, right? But guys, like I showed you, var use karne se, there are lots of problems which can happen, right? So what was the first problem? The first problem was आप उसको दो बार लिख सकते हैं. This is valid, right? And I explained you ना why this is a problem. Because let's say वो दोनों चीजें बहुत ज्यादा spread apart थी, एक दूसरे से दूर थी, तो आपको पता ही नहीं लगेगा कि आपने दोबारा डिक्लेयर किया, right? But अगर आप let use करेंगे तो the computer will give you an error, right? Okay. So what are the properties of let? एक बार समझते हैं, right? I'll use a multi-line comment. Okay? So the first property is it cannot be redeclared, right? Cannot be redeclared. आप उसको दो बार declare नहीं कर सकते एक ही variable को. So you can't say let a is equal to something और नीचे जाके आपने दोबारा let a is equal to something बोल दिया, right? So it provides it protects you from a lot of accidents, right? इसका ये मतलब है अगर आपने बोला let a is equal to let's say 5 और आपने दोबारा बोल दिया यहाँ पे let a is equal to 6. This is not a valid statement. आपने देखा the compiler will give you an error, right? Or the interpreter. But if you were to do var b is equal to 5, var b is equal to 6, right? What happens? This is a perfectly valid statement, right? So I'll just write invalid. You can try running it, and this is valid. Okay. Cool. Next, okay, guys, हमने बात की थी जब भी हम दो चीजों को curly braces के बीच में रखते हैं, right? Like this. This is called a curly brace. It's called block, right? It's a block of code or a functional block or whatever you want to call it, ठीक है? So जो let keyword होता है ना guys, उसका जो scope होता है that is functional, that is block. इसका मतलब ये है, let's say मैंने यहाँ पे लिख दिया let x is equal to 2, okay? इसके बाहर मैं दोबारा लिख सकता हूँ let x is equal to 3, right? Because let variable की life सिर्फ इन दोनों के बीच में एग्जिस्ट करती है, right? Okay. Outside this, it's a different thing. So अगर इसके आगे आपने एक और स्कोप बना दिया, right? एक और ब्लॉक आपका कुछ आ गया, so here you can again have let x is equal to 5. Perfectly valid है ये तीनों लाइंस एक के बाद एक, right? ठीक है? Okay. And of course, because इसकी लाइफ इतनी है, अगर आपने यहाँ पे सिर्फ एक x डाल दिया, तो आप इस वाले x को बाहर नहीं यूज कर सकते, right? Okay. But अगर आपने वेरिएबल इसको var से क्रिएट किया हुआ था, let me just copy the same example यहाँ तक का. Right? So if this was var, आप यहाँ पे भी x को एक्सेस कर सकते थे, right? So you could have said x is equal to 3 or x is equal to 4. This is perfectly valid for var, right? So the point is, using let it brings a lot of predictability to your code, right? Because ये होने से there are a lot of chances of mistake that can happen, right? Because in most languages that you might learn, Java हो गया, C++ हो गया, कुछ भी, right? They are all blocked scope. वहाँ पे जब आप वेरिएबल क्रिएट करते हो तो बाय डिफॉल्ट उसका स्कोप ब्लॉक होता है, राइट? सो जावास्क्रिप्ट आल्सो अडॉप्टेड टू दैट कॉन्फर्मेशन, ठीक है? रीडिक्लेयर ऑफ द वेरिएबल हमने दोबारा बात कर ली. var को कर सकते हो बट let को नहीं कर सकते, राइट? एंड ऑफ कोर्स दिस इज हाउ यू कैन रीडिक्लेयर देम. अगर आपको अलग अलग आपके पास ब्लॉक्ड स्कोप है तो इट विल नॉट कॉज अ प्रॉब्लम, राइट? Okay, there is another concept, right, which is called variable hoisting. उसके बारे में भी बात कर लेते हैं actually, right? So the third thing is the let variable, right? They do not get hoisted. Hoisted क्या होता है मैं समझाता हूँ, don't worry. 3 properties हमने सीखी है. One is cannot be redeclared. Second, blocked scope. Third, cannot be hoisted. राइट? होस्टिंग क्या होती है गाइस? जो भी चीज आप var वेरिएबल से बनाते हैं, राइट? समझना इस बात को. लेट्स से मैं एक फंक्शन लिख रहा था यहाँ पे, राइट? फंक्शन abc लिख देते हैं इसका नाम, राइट? फंक्शन इज जस्ट अ ब्लॉक ऑफ कोड विद अ नेम, राइट? इतना ही होता है फंक्शन. मान लो मैंने इसके अंदर लिखा कार नेम इज इक्वल टू abc और मैंने बाद में लिखा कार नेम, ठीक है? और मैंने कार नेम इस तरीके से डिक्लेयर किया var के साथ, ठीक है? लेट्स ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड दिस. व्हाट हैपेंस इन दिस केस गाइस, जब भी var वेरिएबल आप कहीं पे यूज करते हैं तो इट गेट्स होस्टेड, राइट? होस्टेड का मतलब ये होता है कि आपके पास जो फंक्शन, जो आपके पास स्कोप है ना इस फंक्शन का, ये उसके टॉप पे पहुंच जाता है, राइट? सो बेसिकली इट मींस, मान लो आप यहाँ पे कुछ भी लिख देते हैं. आप यहाँ पे लिख देते हैं let x इज इक्वल टू 5 star 3, y इज इक्वल टू 5 star 7, z इज इक्वल टू 5 star 10, whatever, right? अपने आप जावास्क्रिप्ट जहाँ पे भी var कीवर्ड देखती है बिफोर रनिंग दिस फंक्शन, वो इसको यहाँ से उठाएगी और यहाँ पे ले जाके डाल देगी. जावास्क्रिप्ट विल ऑटोमेटिकली डू इट, आपको नहीं करने की जरूरत है, राइट? Automatically do it, इसका ये मतलब है JavaScript will behave like this, right? So doing this is perfectly valid, right? This is what I'm trying to tell you, because just ऐसा assume करो, जो आपने var car name यहाँ पे लिखा है, जब ये कोड चलेगा तो this will automatically get at the top of this, okay? किसी भी चीज का टॉप पे पहुंच जाना, जैसे हम क्या बोलते हैं, flag hoisting, right? The flag is hoisted. Similarly, var variables get hoisted, right? So formally, variables which are defined with var are hoisted to the top, right, of a function, right? इसका यही मतलब हुआ कि आप इस वेरिएबल को इसके इनिशियलाइज या इसके डिक्लेयर होने से पहले यूज कर सकते थे, right? So that's what I wanted to tell you. But अगर आप इसका टाइप लेट कर देते हैं, राइट? एंड लेट्स ट्राई टू रन दिस. तो जावास्क्रिप्ट पता है क्या बोलेगी? जावास्क्रिप्ट विल से आपने कार नेम जो वेरिएबल है उसको पहले यूज कर लिया उसके डिक्लेयर होने से पहले. सो जावास्क्रिप्ट विल नॉट अलाउ दिस बिहेवियर, राइट? लेट्स ट्राई दिस. मैं इसको यहाँ पे पेस्ट कर रहा हूँ सिंपली कंसोल पे, ठीक है? एंड नाउ आई एम कॉलिंग द फंक्शन abc ताकि उसके अंदर का कोड रन हो जाए. I did this, and what it is saying, everyone read, cannot access car name before initialization. आप car name access नहीं कर सकते बिना उसको initialize किए. सेम चीज अगर आपने var में की होती, यार, right? There is too much zoom here on this var. And now if I call abc, what it is returning? It is returning undefined, which is fine क्योंकि हमने कुछ print ही नहीं किया, तो कुछ राइट तो होगा ही नहीं यहाँ पे, राइट, बट इट्स नॉट गिविंग एन एरर। इसका मतलब है कार नेम इस लाइन पे एक्सेसिबल था, बट लेट विल नॉट अलाउ फॉर दिस बिहेवियर, राइट? सो var variables get hoisted to the top of the function, but var variables don't get hoisted. So this is the another difference between let and var. Again, three properties of let variable: they cannot be redeclared, they are block scoped, and they cannot be hoisted. Chat is now open. Please ask relevant questions. किसी को समझ में नहीं आया, कुछ भी पार्ट है पूछो. मैक स्पेसिफिक चीज पूछो, क्या रिपीट करना है? ठीक है. नो अमित, डोंट इवन यूज द वर्ड एनकैप्सुलेशन अभी के लिए. दिमाग खाली करके बैठो यहाँ पे. आपने जो भी सीखा है भूल जाओ. If you want to become an expert at JavaScript, just listen to me and do not try to jump. Encapsulation is an entirely different concept. I will repeat this whole thing once. ठीक है, मैं chat बंद कर रहा हूँ and I'll repeat this entire thing once. Okay, let's just go through it again. Okay, chat is blocked. Guys, मैंने 3 चीजें बोलनी है let keyword के बारे में. Let me just start my video. Maybe that will help you focus. I've said 3 things about the let variable. Okay, first, it cannot be redeclared. बहुत सिंपल सी बात है. अगर आप ये लिखते हो, चला के देखो जावास्क्रिप्ट पे, इट्स एन एरर, राइट? जावास्क्रिप्ट बोलेगी a has been declared, राइट? गॉट इट? बट अगर आप b और b बोलोगे इस तरीके से var के साथ, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, ठीक है? b है, उसकी वैल्यू 6 हो जाती है. सो दिस इज इनवैलिड, दिस इज वैलिड. So let variables cannot be redeclared, which is a good thing. मैंने आपको समझाया क्यों, because इससे कोड में एरर होने का चांस रहता है. Let's say you had a very large code, आपने कहीं पर डिक्लेयर कर दिया था let variable को, आपने नीचे दोबारा गलती से कर दिया. You will expect its value to be undefined, but उसकी वैल्यू वो ऊपर वाली होगी, right? अगर var होता तो, ठीक है? But let will not let you make that mistake. Okay. Second, let variables are blocked scope. Blocks क्या होता है जावास्क्रिप्ट में? जो भी चीजें इनसे बाउंडेड होती हैं, कहाँ पे होती हैं? फंक्शन में होती हैं, राइट? फंक्शन में, फंक्शन का सिंटैक्स ही ऐसा है दैट इट इज बाउंडेड बाय दीस 2 ब्रेसेस, राइट? तो इसका मतलब ये जो लेट एक्स वाई जेड है, इसको आप बाहर नहीं यूज कर सकते, राइट? बिकॉज लेट वेरिएबल्स आर ब्लॉक्ड स्कोप, राइट? var variables are not blocked scope. Okay, so if you have a var here, आप उसको यहाँ पे भी यूज कर सकते थे. So this is the same x जो ये इस वाले ब्लॉक के अंदर था, ठीक है? 2 things. Third thing, hoisting. Hoisting का क्या मतलब होता है? जावास्क्रिप्ट var variables में, var एक स्पेशल टाइप का वेरिएबल है, उसमें क्या करती है? whenever you are declaring, whenever you are using those var variables inside your code, JavaScript will simply take that variable and move it to the top of your function. आपको दिखेगा नहीं ऐसा होता हुआ, राइट? बट आपको उसका इफेक्ट दिखेगा. लेट्स अंडरस्टैंड अगेन. दोबारा कॉपी कर रहा हूं, ध्यान से सुनना. आई रोट दिस कोड, राइट? अगर मैं इस कोड को चलाता हूं, सो इट्स एन एरर, बिकॉज जावास्क्रिप्ट क्या बोलेगी? एबीसी चलाना पड़ेगा. जावास्क्रिप्ट ने बोला आप कार नेम यूज कर रहे हैं बिना उसको डिक्लेयर किए, राइट? क्योंकि वो डिक्लेयर बाद में हो रहा है और वो यूज पहले हो रहा है, राइट? तो बिना इनिशियलाइज करे, बिना आप वेरिएबल को यूज नहीं कर सकते. बट इफ दिस वाज अ var वेरिएबल, right, like this, okay, now if I run function abc, it's not an error. Why? How does var work internally? जहां पे भी आपने var यूज किया, वो उस फंक्शन के टॉप पे आ जाएगा, right? So basically if you write var here, it is the equivalent of saying this thing, right? Which is of course, which is perfectly valid, right? पहले var declare किया, फिर उसको यूज किया, right? So var variable will automatically get hoisted. Hoisted मतलब फंक्शन के टॉप पे पहुंच जाएगा. It will act as if it's already written at the top of the function. Chat is open again. Ask relevant questions. सबको क्लियर है? That is also not correct, Aman, because there could be cases जहाँ पे वो फंक्शन नहीं होगा, वो कुछ और होगा. There can be multiple types of block scoping. That makes no sense, Harish. सोच के बोलो क्या बोलना है. Okay. Shall I cover one more concept, or do you want me to stop? Please tell me very clearly. Now I want to vote on this. Agar if you want me to stop, just say stop. All of you write stop on the chat. Okay. No, ठीक है. That's fine, right? If you want me to move, say move. Guys, most of them I'm getting stop, right? So let me have a midway यहाँ पे. What I'm going to do is I'll cover a very small concept. ठीक है? क्योंकि वेरिएबल की बात कर रहे थे, तो just वेरिएबल की एक और बात कर लेते हैं. We talked about let. Let me just talk about const very quickly. It has very similar behavior. It will not be very overloading for you. Shall I do that? Shall I explain stop? Shall I explain const? ठीक है? Const करके रुक जाएंगे. Good. So we would have covered all types of variable types today, right? Which is good progress. Okay. So like we talked about const, right? Let हम ऐसे ही const की बात भी करेंगे. Right? Const keyword. Okay. What is const, guys? Const का भी let के जैसा ही सीन है, ठीक है? ये भी जावास्क्रिप्ट में बहुत बाद में इंट्रोड्यूस किया गया, बिकॉज var पहले सिर्फ var होता था, बट आपने देख लिया कि var से कितनी प्रॉब्लम्स हो सकती हैं, राइट? नाउ const का क्या वो है गाइस, मतलब प्रॉपर्टीज हैं, बिल्कुल सिमिलर है लेट की तरह, ठीक है? फर्स्ट let me just tell you about the properties which are same. So it's blocked scope, ठीक है, which is a good thing. I'll just copy this guy. So फर्स्ट प्रॉपर्टी ब्लॉक्ड स्कोप है. इसका मतलब अगर const x यहाँ पे यूज कर दिया, राइट, इसकी वैल्यू, इसकी लाइफ सिर्फ इसी ब्रैकेट के अंदर है, राइट? इफ यू ट्राई टू यूज इट हियर, इट डज नॉट वर्क, राइट? सो दिस const x will be a new const x, right? This will be a new variable. Similarly, this const x will again be a new variable, right? It only lives within the scope. Sorry. var का कोई बोलने का जरूरत नहीं है, you already understand it. Second thing, important thing, must be initialized at the time of declaration. Very frankly, this basically means जब आपने उसको डिक्लेयर किया है, let's say I'm saying const abc is equal to some value, let's say 10, आपको यही करना पड़ेगा. You cannot do this, right? So this is valid. What is invalid? Okay, this is invalid. Okay, but if you did like this, so what it means, abc की वैल्यू undefined set हो गई. अगर आप दोबारा उसको करने की कोशिश करोगे, it's an error. करके देख लेते हैं. I'll just write this code here. Invalid. Const needs to be initialized during declaration. Cool. But if it was let, तो आप ये बिल्कुल कर सकते थे. Let abc ABC is equal to 40. EF कर लेते हैं, this for differentiation, and this is perfectly valid. Try करते हैं. Cool, that is it. Const भी समझ लिया, net समझ में आ गया, const समझ में आ गया, var समझ में आ गया. Cool. We'll stop here so that you also don't get overloaded and we've significantly covered also. Code दे दें, ठीक है. How do I give the code? Can anyone help me with that? Commands बताओ भाई. GitHub तो मुझे भी पता है. Git status. Okay, one file has changed. What do I do with this changed file? Git add index.js. Okay. I do git status again to check whether it has staged or not. Stage हो गया. Now I say git commit -m class on let const and variables. Right? How do I make the code reach to you guys? I say git push. Done. Now just take the code from my repository. जिसका link मैंने कल share किया था. Okay guys, did you enjoy today? काफी कुछ सीखने मिला. Did we have a good time? That's the most important thing. Guys, can someone reshare the link of my repo? Some people are asking for it. I don't have it handy. Cool. Yeah. Krishan has already done that. Okay. So one question, say we write a is equal to 5. Does it mean that the JS understands that var? Nahi, Amit. So basically what you are saying a is equal to 5, it ends up becoming a global variable. ठीक है? आपने उसको declare नहीं किया वहाँ पे, right? It just becomes a global variable. I'll explain the concept of global variables. Don't worry. But abhi ke liye it's not like that. No, Ankit, it does not. No, comma is different, semicolon is different. Thank you, Mayank. I'll probably be better by tomorrow. Okay. Okay, Sachin. Thank you, Shubham. Okay, the point मैं एक बात बोलना चाहता था सबसे. See, I'm sure some of you come from background जहाँ पे आपने थोड़ा बहुत coding सीखा है. Maybe some of you know coding, some of you don't know coding, whatever, right? The fact is, none of you, right? When I'm saying none of you, I literally mean that none of you know JavaScript, right? So the quicker you believe that, right, that you don't know JavaScript, the easier it will be for you to learn, right? But if you come with a lot of notions, यार मुझे तो आता है, मुझे तो पता है node क्या है, I know what this is, right? It will be a problem. You will only hinder your learning. But if you sit here with an empty mind, whatever I'm telling you, you just follow it by the book. In 30 days, you can know JS, right? So the question is, do you want to know JS, or do you want to feel that you know programming, right? Okay, so come with an empty mind and try to learn here. Trying to act cool by writing things which other people don't know about